On News 4 San Antonio at 5, we're here for you.
Right now at 5, we're continuing the effort to fight for transparency still, 2 years after the Robb Elementary tragedy where 21 lives were lost, with a lack of police response put under the microscope and evidence involving it locked away.
Because of this, several news outlets, including our parent company, Sinclair Broadcasting, filed a lawsuit against the city of Uvalde to release the information. On Saturday, through a court order, the city was forced to publicly release an extensive number of documents. However, not everything was included. 2 days later, the city of Uvalde confirmed there were several police body cam videos that should have been included but weren't.
I stress is that those are the people of Uvalde's documents. Those are not the proprietary information of the police.
We're now diving into how this oversight happened and whether the city of Uvalde is in compliance with the court order. And we were the first to alert you about the undisclosed police body cam footage just after 10 a.m. today. And as soon as we learned about it, we immediately started to dig.
This is the timeline the city of Uvalde has given us. In June 2022, the Uvalde Police Department gave its video footage and records to the Texas Rangers, who provided the documents to District Attorney Christina Mitchell. August 10th, Saturday, the city of Uvalde releases a trove of documents to news organizations like ours in compliance with a court order. On Monday, an officer alerts Chief Homer Delgado he believes some of his body cam footage was missing.
Now, that very same day, Chief Delgado ordered an immediate audit of all UPD servers and an internal investigation, which led to several more videos being discovered. And just yesterday, the department handed that additional footage over to the district attorney for review. Meantime, UPD's audit and internal investigation continues. The 19 students killed at Robb Elementary were supposed to start the 7th grade this week. More than 2 years later, their families say justice has not been served.
2 officers have been indicted out of nearly 400 officers who responded to the shooting. That includes Pete Arredondo, who was the Uvalde CISD police chief, and former Uvalde CISD officer Adrian Gonzalez. The News 4i team's Jordan Elder is investigating how this happened and what could come next.
She's been digging for answers all day, and she's identified some of the footage that may be missing.
Get in there if you're going to get in.
12 body cam clips from 5 officers. And now we're hearing there's more.
Hey, Juan, watch that window to your left.
This ain't no shocker, Jordan. This is, I hate to say par for the course, but it is something that I have seen for the past 30 years.
Attorney Tim Maloney says he sees this happen a lot with law enforcement investigations. But in a case this highly criticized...
And how can you now have faith in a system that took 2 years to give you basic information, and now, lo and behold, new evidence comes out?
Does this open up the possibility that there could potentially be other evidence missing?
Absolutely. I mean, that's the whole, how are you going to know?
We had questions about this as we looked through footage and documents from the city of Uvalde. You see in these text messages between officers, 7 are listed as having body cameras or patrol video that day. Staff Sergeant Eddie Canales writes, quote, the others either did not have it on or did not have time to grab one. We don't have any footage from Officer Jesus Mendoza or Officer Joe Zamora. It's unclear if their footage is among what was turned over to Uvalde DA Christina Mitchell this week. We sent several questions to her office about this situation. We wanted to know if this is the first time she's seeing these videos, who will be reviewing them, and what she initially asked the department for in the investigation, plus how her team can assure that nothing else is missing. Maloney says all of these answers could have big impacts.
All of a sudden, the new information becomes part of a criminal investigation. As such, you guys and the citizens are prevented from getting it, and it sits there in a box for God knows how long.
The big takeaway here is that depending on what that body camera video shows, attorneys say the criminal investigation could be reopened and that grand jury could be called back. We have a lot of questions still out to Uvalde leaders about what was discovered today, and we'll continue to keep you updated. For the News 4i team, I'm Jordan Elder.
The police department is still working on its investigation into how exactly this happened and if there needs to be change to their internal procedures.
We reached out to our attorneys involved in the lawsuit asking whether they learned about the additional body cam footage. We received a statement from Associate Reed Pilifant, who works directly with our attorney. He said, quote, the city of Uvalde informed Haynes Boone on Tuesday night that it had discovered additional video footage related to the Robb Elementary school shooting. He then said, we appreciate the police department's quick response in conducting an audit to ensure all relevant materials are shared with the public as soon as possible.
Our team continues to work tirelessly to fight for transparency. In fact, we spoke with State Senator Roland Gutierrez, who represents Uvalde. He's been critical of the handling of the Robb Elementary investigation, and earlier this afternoon, we caught up with the senator, and he says he found out about the latest development as a result of our reporting, and he says it's just another example of how this hasn't been adequately handled.
This whole drip of information that we've received in the last 2.5 years has just been really pathetic, because they've strung out not just the media, but they've strung out these families, most importantly. And all they've asked for is transparency, to try to get to accountability, to try to get to policy change.
Senator Gutierrez says the release of information has been constantly delayed because of what he called a failed state when it comes to gun safety and gun protocols.
And we continue team coverage now, speaking with families of the victims of Robb Elementary. There is no closure as they continue to endure the emotional trauma surrounding the investigation of what happened that day.
We spoke with Brett Cross, who lost Uzziah Garcia in that shooting. Uzziah would have turned 13 this week. Amanda Henderson spoke with Cross, who tells us Uzziah should still be alive. Amanda?
Jonathan, exactly. And that's a similar sentiment that we hear from every single one of the loved ones of the Uvalde victims. Both them and families of the survivors tell me they were blindsided by today's announcement, and they could not sugarcoat how they were feeling, especially given that we just received what we were told were all the files that the city of Uvalde had in relation to the Robb Elementary mass shooting. Now, Brett was telling me earlier when he found out because he started getting calls from people, including us, emphasizing his frustration.
I want everybody to know the injustices and the failures that happened that day. But I just want everybody whose children or family members were involved to see and hear it first. That is the least that they can do.
Now, Brett says not much surprises him anymore, but says this is a slap in the face because they were not alerted to this before we alerted them or other people alerted them. Now, he and the other families, they're left wondering if it's going to take another 2+ years for these body camera footages to become public, and if so, are they going to see it first? Reporting in San Antonio, I'm Amanda Henderson.
All right, Amanda, thank you for that. We, of course, will continue to follow this developing story, and as more information does come to light, you will be the first to know. You can follow us on all our social media platforms, as well as online at news4sa.com.
To another big story we've been following out in Atascosa County.
Yeah, the sheriff's office here releasing new information on the arrest of a mother and stepfather accused of involvement in the death of their 12-year-old daughter, Miranda Sips. Denise Baldanera, that is, and Gerald Gonzalez were arrested Monday and charged with injury to a child causing serious bodily injury by omission. News for San Antonio's Marisa Mendoza was at today's press conference where the sheriff says Sips received no medical attention for 4 days.
Instead of calling EMS or taking their daughter to the hospital, then they just left her in the house and tried tending to her, but she was primarily unconscious, unresponsive, incapacitated.
Atascosa County Sheriff David Soward says for 4 days, 12-year-old Miranda Sips was barely alive. Her mother, Denise Balbaneda, and stepfather, Gerald Gonzalez, kept her home in Christine, which is 8 miles south of Jourdanton, and failed to get her the proper medical attention.
They put her into a state of being unconscious. She was not talking. She basically could flutter her eyes and move her hands a little bit. Over a 4-day period, they had her laying on a pallet in the house. They did try a couple of remedies, like maybe trying to give her a smoothie with some vitamins. Of course, somebody that's unconscious, that's hard to do.
The couple has been charged with injury to a child causing serious bodily injury by omission. That's a first-degree felony. Sheriff Soward says they were taken into custody without incident and showed little remorse to their daughter's death.
The mother, as my investigator said, not really at all. The stepdad did exhibit some remorse.
Sips was a cheerleader at Jourdanton Junior High School. While the superintendent of Jourdanton ISD had no comment, Sheriff Soward says grief counselors were at the school the past few days to help students and staff cope. Sheriff Soward says Miranda Sips would have turned 13 later this month.
Sheriff Soward says both suspects remain at the Atascosa County Jail. He says each of their bonds have been set at $200,000. From Jourdanton, Marisa Mendoza, News 4, San Antonio.
Melissa Vega at the live desk. Well, happening right now, we are following some breaking news for you in South Bexar County. The Bexar County Sheriff's Office investigating after a body was found. We have been listening to a live press conference with Sheriff Salazar. We just learned minutes ago that the body is believed to be that of a man between 50 and 60 years old. This is in South Bexar County along FM 1937 near 281. Deputies are on the scene of a distribution warehouse. Let's also show you some video. This is a look from your South Texas Ford dealer Sky 4 helicopter. The sheriff saying that some landscapers were cutting grass in the area, noticed a foul odor and saw human remains. The sheriff says the man appears to be homeless. He was wearing a hospital bracelet and some hospital socks. The sheriff saying the death doesn't really appear to be suspicious, but the medical examiner is on scene right now to determine exactly how the man died. The sheriff says it may have been due to the heat or a medical illness as well. But again, body found. The sheriff saying this death does not appear to be suspicious, but still a very active investigation. That is the latest from the live desk. Jonathan?
Well, new information on yet another big story that we're also following. The San Antonio Missions laying out details of a new proposed downtown ballpark. The Missions presented a plan for a $160 million ballpark, which is just part of a $1 billion development. The key takeaways in this one include opening day of April 2028 and that no taxpayer funds will be used. The project is set to be funded by bonds offset by future revenue that will come from the surrounding development.
Our vision is about much more than baseball. While this should be families downtown 70 nights a year for Missions games, this vision needs to be far greater than that. This deserves to be a landmark for families.
Now, today was just the first step in a project that will be located north of downtown near the San Pedro Creek Culture Park.
This afternoon, we do have some 90s from our four-zone weather watchers. Kevin Hurt there in Shirts, 97 with Martha out in the Welder, and Chris Barbosa, Alamo Ranch, 100 degrees. We did, in fact, touch 100 today in San Antonio, and it's just going to be getting hotter into next week, where we're looking at the possibility of heat warnings being issued. The 10-day forecast, temperatures, and the chances for rain over the next 10 days coming up.
Still ahead, the Edwards Aquifer celebrates a win today after state officials stalled a wastewater treatment plant set for above an aquifer recharge zone. Who's pushing to have it there? Coming up.
You're watching News 4 San Antonio.
Now to the latest, a big win for the city of San Antonio, at least for now, as the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality contested a wastewater treatment plant that's been in the works in northwest Bexar County. TCEQ commissioners approved the contest because Metro Health, the Edwards Aquifer, and a resident voiced concerns about the direct impact on water quality and the impact on the environment. The wastewater plant was requested by Lennar Homes, which wants to build 2,900 homes between San Antonio and Boerne. The main worry, it would allow the plant, which is not within city limits, to dump treated domestic wastewater into Helotes Creek and the Edwards Aquifer recharging zone at up to 1 million gallons a day. Both sides will have a hearing before anything can move forward.
Well, a new mural was just unveiled, created to honor 53 migrants who lost their lives in a major human trafficking event 2 years ago on the south side. The tractor trailer was discovered off of Quintana Road back on June the 27th of 22. Dozens of men, women, and children were abandoned with no water inside of that hot trailer as the weather reached almost 100 degrees. 3 artists came together to create this commemorative mural called Sacrificios, which was meant to bring healing. The mural is located at Mission County Park.
Still ahead, more insight on the wrath of Ernesto as it crosses the Caribbean islands. The emergency response needed in Puerto Rico.
Back to the live desk. We are following a live picture for you right now. Ernesto did not make a direct landfall on Puerto Rico, but heavy rain and strong winds right now, they are impacting the island. That's a live look there. And at last check, more than 100,000 people are without power. We can also show you some video because you can see just that massive water rushing through. There are also thousands of customers without water on the island, more than 120,000 customers. So a lot of people without power, without water. The storm should move over the western Atlantic later in the week, gaining strength, and it could reach major hurricane strength by Friday morning because Ernesto is expected to threaten Bermuda by the weekend. So a lot of people in Puerto Rico dealing with the aftermath right now. That is the latest from the Live Desk.
Now your certified most accurate four-zone weather with Chief Meteorologist Chris Suchan.
Well, and again, that is the big storyline here today weather-wise is Puerto Rico. There you see some of the damage. There was some wind, a lot of that flooding rain through the course of yesterday, overnight, and through the day today. And that was really the biggest impact, though, was the flooding rain across Puerto Rico. Let's take you to the maps here. This is infrared satellite imagery. The storm, hurricane, is rapidly, in fact, this should say Hurricane Ernesto. Its winds are now at 75 miles an hour. It's rapidly accelerating to the northwest. And when we look at radar, there's still little tropical squalls across Puerto Rico, which is really sort of salt in the wounds at this point after some flooding tropical rain. But the bulk of that shield of moisture is moving away. And the forecast track will take it right around Bermuda as either a Cat 2 or a Cat 3 hurricane late week into the upcoming weekend. Then it just sort of zips off way up there into the North Atlantic. Outside of some ocean swells that would reach the beaches of the East Coast. Again, this storm has no impact on the United States here. And behind it, the tropics are going to be pretty quiet for the next 7 days. Gulf, Western Caribbean. There are some waves that will be coming off Africa in the 1 to 2, 3 week time frame that will deserve our attention here. But for the next 7 days, if you have Caribbean plans behind Ernesto, you're going to be in good shape. Raul Rodriguez Law, Weather Cam Network. It's the 90s, all four zones right now, 98 in San Antonio. The temperature leveled off with this batch of clouds coming in, high clouds. That's actually from early day thunderstorms near the coast. They fell apart and they sort of sent us this debris cloudiness coming in, but we still managed to hit 100 degrees. The rain chance 10% or less for the next hour or two as the sea breeze punches inland. So I'm really not expecting to see much. And again, earlier in the day, we had a little activity down near the coast and a couple showers ongoing still in eastern Lavaca County. So the temperatures, a lot of 90s still on the map, pretty typical heat for us here into mid-August. This is what it feels like in the shade, and we did in fact hit 100, so that's now 18 days. So let's talk about the pattern ahead. This ridge weakens, it'll be replaced by an even stronger ridge of high pressure, a lot of hot sinking air in the atmosphere, and it dominates Texas and the Central Plains, the Rockies. This will be making big weather headlines next week with the heat. And notice it is relentless through next week. That's next Friday. There might be some signs 10 to 14 days out of a little bit of weakening. And of course, the rain chances around that ridge. It's up to the north, to the west, here to the east. And we're stuck right underneath it there, which really makes life difficult thinking about rain chances. With any luck, by Saturday, the 24th, 25th, maybe we get a chance for a shower thunderstorm back into the area. But for the foreseeable future, it's goose eggs on the rain chances and the temperatures. Here you can see them. They're going to be going well above 100 degrees, 104, 105 Monday, Tuesday of next week. Do want to point out that we do have better days ahead by November. The average high is 72. If you're dreaming of pumpkin spice lattes and sweaters that are out, those days are coming. We just got to get through this. 101 degrees. You see our 7-day forecast. We have weather alert days for Monday and Tuesday for the possibility of excessive heat warnings that could be in our area and out west. It's 105 to 110 the next 7 days. Hill country, we have 90s to the low 100s. Very little rain chance. Here's our eastern zone extended forecast. Guys, over to you.
Don is here, and these are what the Cowboys call the dog days of training camp.
Yeah, has the excitement worn off?
For these guys, they're tired of all this stuff, right? It's the groundhog days of training camp. A lot of monotony, and tempers can flare. The Cowboys going against the Rams today. So what are the benefits of that? The details next.
This is the Thomas J. Henry Sports Desk.
News Force Camden, California with Don Harris, sponsored by Cowboys AC.
Well, you know, for the past 10 days or so, the Cowboys kept saying they were ready to hit somebody else for a change. Well, now they might be tired of hitting the LA Rams. The Cowboys were back at it today with a combined practice against the Rams, just a few days after playing them in a first preseason game, which was just a couple of days after practicing against them last week. The two squads getting to know each other very well, but Micah Parsons says it gives him insight on how other teams might game plan against him.
I think for me, you get better looks. I get better looks at how teams are going to scheme against me. You know, I kind of get an advanced look on, you know, especially Sean McVay. He has a great mind and what team's going to do. And he kind of told me a game plan. He's like, man, I would do this all day against you. I would never let you, I would never drop back and pass. I would just keep, you know, screening fast, you know. And, you know, they got some very talented players on their side. And, you know, anytime you get a guy like Stafford and you get reads, no-look passes, things like that, what he offers to this game, a top quarterback of his caliber, it's always great work.
All right, so the Cowboys will see another team this weekend. That's the Raiders in Las Vegas. It's late Saturday night at 9 o'clock. You can watch it on our sister station, CWSA. And coming up at 6, Wemby says he's put on some weight. How much? That and new details of the Spurs' upcoming schedule coming up at 6 o'clock.
Great. No changes, really.
Yeah, so if you're not a fan of 100-degree heat, look away now from your TV screen.
Cover your eyes.
100 today, but boy, it's coming. 104, 105 next week.
Get used to it. All right. See you at 6.